Why, oh why do poor white people vote against themselves time and time again?
Hey guys, how are you all doing? It's a girl Cindy and I'm back again with another video. I trust you guys are having a good time today. Thank you so much for clicking to watch this video. This video right here just popped out on my For You page and the caption, as usual, caught my attention. The caption says, "Why do poor whites vote against their own interests?" And this is coming from a white woman. And I thought okay, let me listen to what she's saying. I'm going to roll the clip so you guys can hear what she said. And of course, I'm going to show you more videos because I went down the rabbit hole. Check this video out.
Why, oh why do poor white people vote against themselves time and time again? They vote for Trump and the other MAGA politicians only to have every promise broken, prices go up, social supports evaporate. Here's why. First, remember what I talked about recently, the psychological wage of whiteness. That term was coined by W.E. Du Bois to describe poor white folks being paid with social status rather than decent living conditions. They're convinced by the elites that they're better than black folks, better than immigrants, Latinos, LGBTQ folks. They're convinced that being white puts them in the same league as the elites. Of course, the elites know otherwise, but the poor whites buy it because they're grasping at straws. Second, they are convinced that the people they're supposedly better than are the big threat in their lives. Not the rich, not the corporations or the politicians, but immigrants, black folks, welfare queens, LGBTQ, criminals, you know, the usual scapegoats. Third, the elites promise protection to poor white folks. A politician comes along and says, I'll keep those people in their place, or I'll kick them out, or I'll lock them up. Or more politely, I'll defend your values. They don't say, I'll make your life better. Well, they say it, they just don't mean it. They'll say, I'll make sure they don't get ahead of you. Fourth, they vote for the punishment, not the policy. When a law gets passed that slashes public housing or school funding or food aid, they think, good, that'll stop those lazy freeloaders. And they do some mental gymnastics that make them believe it's worth losing those things for their own families in order to see those problematic black people and immigrants and so forth being punished. It gets to a point where just seeing those guys being punished is reward enough, which is pretty sick, but that's how behavior works. Their housing, schools, and groceries are on the chopping block too, but they blame that on Biden. Always a scapegoat. They get hit by the same policies they were told would punish the others, and they blame the wrong people. The system fails them, but they've been trained to blame the scapegoats, not the cause, which is the rich people, the people they voted for. So they think the problem is still those people, not the fact that they were personally manipulated by the people they voted for. They're basically saying, I'll take the hit as long as you don't help them, or worse, as long as you hurt them. That is the psychological wage Du Bois was talking about, the trade-off between material security for racial status. And that's a crying shame, folks. One share, like, save, and comment shows that you care about white people taking responsibility for racism in America. This work is important to me, and I want to keep doing it. If you want to support me, consider a donation of any size to coffee.com/Kelly Snyder. And yeah, spelling is important. Get curious.
So after seeing this video right here, I checked her entire page out and I saw that she has done tons of videos calling her people out. I'm gonna tag her below in the comment if you all want to see or check her page out. But I just want us to see just few of her videos. Stay with me, because in her comment, y'all know how this thing works, right? Y'all know how this thing play out. Her people always come in the comment section to come for people like her who are talking about history. They don't like it. And they are part of the problem. If someone is telling you, or maybe talking about history, something that perhaps you don't know, so why don't you pay attention? Why are you so uncomfortable to hear these conversations? All you need to do is just learn. Just learn. Do your research. Ask questions. That's all. Don't report their account. Don't be angry. Just learn. Just be quiet and learn. Anyways, guys, let's check these videos out.
Okay, I am going to tell you 2 stories about myself. And it's pretty embarrassing, and one of them I'm ashamed of. But I don't know how else to answer the question someone asked me. They said, what exactly are you deconstructing from since you were never an extreme racist? I guess that's a fair question. I mean, I have never flown a Confederate flag. I've never screamed slurs at anybody. I don't think I've even ever said the N-word, except in very controlled situations where I was referring to someone saying the N-word. So here's the first story. One time back when I lived in New Orleans, I lived in New Orleans from the time I was 14 until I was 27, 28. So my formative years, I was driving toward the Mississippi River Bridge. There's a big intersection, and it was the middle of a Saturday, and there they were, the Ku Klux Klan in their full regalia, pointy hats, long white robes, handing out brochures like they're Girl Scouts or something. One of them walked up to my car with a pamphlet. I shot him the bird. I shot him the bird. Later, I wished I had just taken the damn brochure just to see how they framed their hate, but I didn't want that in my car. And he just smiled, this syrupy, sweet little smile, and said, "Now you have a nice day, ma'am." I guess they have hats that don't have the face part, or maybe he had it pulled up because I could see his face and a little smirky grin on it. Anyway, I always hated what they stand for. Always. And that wasn't the kind of overt racism that I needed to unlearn in my life. So the other story is this. One time, I walked into a hair salon in Texas, where I lived for many, many years, and the sign said, "Walk-ins welcome," so I walked in. And then I froze because everyone in there was black. I had long blonde hair, and I thought, do they even work on hair like mine? This is going to sound so ridiculous, but I didn't know what to do. A normal, non-racist person would have said, "Can I get a haircut?" I mean, that's not so hard, right? Not me, nope. I said sorry and turned on my heels and left. That was probably 30 years ago, and I still feel horrible about it. I had to come off like a rude white woman who didn't want to get her hair cut by black people. It has haunted me ever since. All I had to do was say, "Hey, do you cut hair like mine?" I mean, the worst thing they could have said was no, but I was so uncomfortable, I couldn't ask a simple question. In most of my life, I wasn't someone who was considered an extreme racist, but if all those people in that salon had been white, I promise you, I would not even remember that interaction because I would have just got my hair cut. It would have been no big deal. That discomfort I felt in that awkward moment was racism. If you're white and you're trying to figure out if you have any racism curled up like a dust bunny under the hairdresser chair of your mind, just spend some time thinking about a situation in your life where you could have done better. Don't decide it wasn't that big of a deal. Just sit and look at it with curiosity, not shame, with interest, not avoidance. I'm not saying it's not going to be unpleasant. Most likely it will be, but Just stay with that bit of your history held in your hands, where you can examine where it came from, how it became part of your behavior. Think about what you could have done differently. Run it through your mind as a dress rehearsal the next time you have a chance to be a dork and would really prefer not to. Get curious about why you do the things you do in the ways that you do them. Do mental dress rehearsals about how to change your behavior. I've never owned anyone. My neighbors, as far as I know, have never been owned by anyone. But the people who say we don't owe any reparations for the Civil War are ignoring something really huge. Or maybe they just don't know. Some people already got reparations. White people. White enslavers were paid for losing their human property. The actual people who were raped, tortured, whipped, and sold, and worse, were promised land to get a fresh start after the war, but they got nothing. When slavery was abolished, Congress paid nearly $1 million, which is 30 million in today's bucks, to white enslavers as compensation for losing their property in a war they lost. If a freed person didn't hit the road fast enough, they risked being re-enslaved under new laws that were just workarounds for all these white people losing their slaves. After the Civil War ended, Union General Sherman set aside 400,000 acres of confiscated Confederate land for black families to start new lives on, up to 40 acres each. The Army loaned out mules to help them work the land. That's where the phrase 40 acres and a mule comes from. Black people were already working some of this land when Lincoln was assassinated and Andrew Johnson became president. Well, Johnson reversed the order. He gave the land back to the same Confederates who had just tried to destroy the country. The freed people were evicted. So they made all these things into crimes that were non-crimes. They were things like, if a black person didn't have a job, that was a crime. If a black person couldn't prove that they had a job, that was a crime. You could get arrested for that and a lot of other ridiculous things. But once you were in jail, you could be leased out as labor for private profit. This system of convict leasing allowed white landowners and businesses to replace slavery with something just as violent, just as profitable as slavery. No wonder there are still Confederate flags all across the South. Even after slavery was abolished, Black Americans were not safe. Public lynchings became a regular threat. They were a form of terror used to keep free people in their place. They were planned events announced in advance so everybody could attend. They were held in broad daylight. White families brought their children to watch black people being hanged, tortured, brutally murdered. It was a festival. People sold food. There were postcards made. People could buy postcards of the mutilated bodies hanging from trees and mail them in the mail or keep them as souvenirs. This country took care of Civil War criminals and punished the ones the war was supposed to free. And there was a lot more abuse I just can't fit into this video. Next time I'm going to talk about the stuff that happened in relation to the Great Depression and World War II. And then after that, I'll have one on civil rights, the era when I was growing up, how it all ties in to the racism that is part and parcel of our grand land today. White people, you especially need to get curious. Join me in this research, and you'll find that people are willing and able to come in with their education and their experience to help you learn. You just have to be open to it. We need to be willing to be uncomfortable. White churches have not just been supported by white supremacy, they have served as its headquarters. I know you don't want to hear that. They have taught white people that oppression is godly and that power belongs to us by divine right. After the civil rights movement, powerful white people, men, saw that their grip was slipping. Black people were winning court cases. Poor people were organizing. Women were demanding rights. How dare we? LGBTQ people were coming out of their closets, and the foundations of white male dominance were cracking. So they thought, what can we use that no one will question? In 1979, Jerry Falwell founded the Moral Majority. He said it was about championing family values. That was a lie. The real trigger was that the IRS had begun revoking tax exemptions for whites-only Christian schools. Those whites-only schools were created specifically to avoid integration. Falwell's own school, Liberty Christian Academy, was one of them. The platform of the Moral Majority ended up getting built around the issue of abortion. Although that wasn't the original plan, they basically test drove different topics to see which ones would resonate the most with the audience they needed to capture, which was white Americans, white Christian Americans. It had everything to do with maintaining the right to discriminate, yet still enjoy government benefits. This guy named Paul Weyrich, who was a conservative political strategist, he teamed up with Falwell to build a political base. He admitted that abortion had not really motivated white evangelicals until it became politically useful. Their real grievance was losing control over who could sit in their classrooms, walk into their churches, and live in their neighborhoods. Once they realized that abortion could mask their racial panic, they made that their headline issue. They built a movement that turned pulpits into propaganda platforms. Sunday services became political strategy sessions. That's illegal. You're not supposed to be able to do that at a church if you're getting tax exemption. Ministers told white families that their enemies were not the wealthy elites exploiting their labor. They were not the politicians cutting their wages and stealing their pensions. The churches pointed to the poor, the black, the brown, the queer, the immigrant. Those people are the ones that are taking food out of your children's plate. They told white people they were being persecuted every time they were asked to share. And yes, I understand what it means for me to say this out loud. I know what it means to say that the church, something which is so sacred to so many, has been a central engine of the immoral institution of white supremacy. I know this will upset people. The white church has stood on the wrong side of every fight for justice in this country. Every one. During slavery, it defended human ownership. During Jim Crow, it defended lynching and segregation. Christian church members attended lynchings and brought their children to steep them in that evil. During the civil rights movement, it defended denying benefits to black people. During the rise of Trump, it defended cruelty in the name of religious liberty, as if Trump has a clue. Some churches resisted, yes. There are liberal churches who have a strong history of being on the right side of these issues, but most didn't. Most chose comfort. Even now, white churches help elect leaders who lie, steal, incite violence. They wage war on education. They call justice wokeness as an insult. They are consuming a message that keeps them at the center with the elite in their minds. They choose white power over compassion, over empathy. One share shows you care about setting the record straight. Please share. Next time, I am going to talk about how Donald Trump did not hijack this system. He was groomed into it.
So beside me are some of the screenshots of comments I grabbed from her video so you guys can see what other people dropped in there. You can please pause to read this comment if you want to. So in the comment section of the last video that we just watched, I saw a lot of comments from Black people appreciating her for making that video and also applauding her for being courageous to, make these videos. Because we all know that some of her people don't like seeing this type of videos. They will either report her page, they will choose not to support her. Of course, they will leave some racist comments. How about you're doing your research? If you think that she's lying, if you think that she's making up these stories, because some of you think that, Black people make these stories up. So why don't you just do your own research? Why don't you just pause and say, okay, did this actually happen? Let me just do my research. I mean, Google is your friend and it is absolutely free. Just type in something and Google is going to tell you exactly what happened. Pick up some books and read. So I want to tell you what happened yesterday. I was outside with my husband. He was cleaning our car and I was just there, gisting, laughing, cracking jokes and all of that. Then this white man walked up to us, an elderly white man, and he said, hi. And we said, hi. He was like, oh, I've been seeing you around, and he was asking, how long have you all been here? And we told him, and he says, oh, he's been here for many, many years. But basically, he doesn't live there anymore. He moved to another neighborhood, but he comes around literally every day because he's fixing the house. And the next thing he says, how are you guys seeing this place? I mean, do you love this neighborhood? And do you have any concern? And we said to him, not at all. I mean, we are cool, we are fine. And then he says, oh, when he was living there many years ago, there were some Chinese people and, there are people, white people that were living in the neighborhood at the time were not fair at the Chinese people. Like they were coming for them, all this stuff. He started telling us history. And from there, he continued talking about, how his people are treating Black people and Chinese people. And he felt all right. Like he was really comfortable to have such conversation. And then I was like, oh, okay, here we go. And of course, I engaged him, asking him some questions. And he was, again, very, very comfortable to have such conversation. And he said to me that he was once a teacher. He retired at the age of 56 because he had enough. And then he started talking about, the students who are white, the way they were behaving and all of that. He told us some, stories. Basically, this man was really comfortable to have such conversation, which a lot of white people do feel uncomfortable to have such conversation. But anyways, I thought to react to this video. I thought to bring this video here so we all can see it. And I love these videos when I see them. I try to bring these videos here so they can also hear from their people, because they think that Black people are making these stories up. Well, anyways, again, let me know what you all think in the comments, and thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video, share, comment, and of course, come back for another one. I'm gonna see you all in my next video. Y'all have a lovely day. Bye.